We have a story about two Maryland children. They're back with their parents after being held by Child Protective Services for hours. The children, aged 6 and 10, were playing alone in a park yesterday when someone called 911 after seeing them alone. This is the third time the parents, Danielle and Alexander Maytive, have been investigated for child neglect. But they say they're just practicing what's called free-range parenting, which they claim builds independence. So joining us now is freelance writer Jennifer Wallace. She writes on parenting topics for the Wall Street Journal, women's magazines, and for the Huffington Post. So this is very interesting because the question is, where do we draw the line, Jennifer, between a parent's freedom and the government's right to intervene to protect the children?
That's right. I think it's a question that parents grapple with every day, starting from when we allow them to start walking and how much freedom do we give them. And I think only a parent really knows their child. And I think that's why when you look at the law on this, every state has a different law, if they have a law at all. What one 10-year-old is like and their sort of emotional development and motor development is not the same as every 10-year-old. So I think we're seeing that, and I think it is the question that individual parents think about their own children, but collectively we're wondering now as a society, where is that line? And should we be convicting parents for exercising their freedom as a parent to parent?
Now, they say, the Maytive family says they're practicing free-range parenting.
Yes.
What is that? Right.
Well, free-range parenting is sort of a reaction to helicopter parenting, all these sort of polarizing terms. Free-range parents believe in sort of the way children were raised in the 70s, to have some freedom. And freedom, they believe, builds self-reliance and confidence and a sense of mastery and skills that their children will grow up and benefit from. So these free-range parents, the parents that I've met who identify themselves as free-range, are actually really thoughtful about how they're raising their children. They're not dropping them off in a park and saying to your kids, good luck, and running away. They are gradually teaching them. They're walking with them. They're observing them. They really intimately know their children's abilities, and then they let go.
And we have become more conservative as a society over the years, with parents really monitoring their children much more than they have in the past, for better or for worse.
That's right. I would say that the psychologists would say for worse, that even with the benefits of overprotection, meaning that your child doesn't get a scrape or break an arm, we are seeing a reaction to that. And we're seeing that our children are more dependent on us than perhaps the children in the 70s. I know I grew up with protective parents, but even my protective parents in the 70s let me ride around for the afternoon with my friends on my bike in my neighborhood. And we are actually safer today. So while we've become more conservative, statistically, we're safer as a country.
So what's leading to that? It's the internet, it's all of these crime stories that we're hearing about. It definitely gives the impression that we're not safer.
That's true. I think there are a couple of things leading to it. I think it is the internet. I think it's the constant sort of drive for news and sort of these rare cases that seem to be commonplace when they really aren't. But I also think the other drive is that we as a generation are raising our children and spending more time with them than any other generation in the past. We are so deeply involved with their every move, and we feel a responsibility as a parent to guide them, and not only guide them, to direct them. And I think it might not be good for our children.
And that can lead to one of those other polarizing terms, helicopter parents. Right. So tell us a little bit about that movement and what the pros and cons are.
Right. So the difference between free range and helicopter parents are hovering. That's where the word helicopter comes from. They're always sort of hovering over their children, ready to swoop in at a moment's notice. And what we see with that is that children who have helicopter parents are less likely to sort of act out their fears and take small risks that ultimately would build to greater independence. And I would say psychologists are warning us to back off helicopter moms. And I was a former helicopter mom, so I could say that.
A reformed helicopter mom?
Reformed.
Okay, really helpful advice. Jennifer Wallace, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Gigi.